Welcome to today's session on advanced organizational development. Today we will talk about the OD practitioner. In other words, the self, you and I. How do we impact organizations? What kind of reflections do we need? What is it that the OD practitioner should be looking into? Where does he or she make a difference? Organizational development practitioners and professionals work in a systematic or methodical manner to improve the effectiveness of people, departments, and organizations by, first of all, establishing relationships with key personnel in the department or organization. Second, by researching and evaluating various systems in the department or organization to better understand some of the dysfunctions as well as the goals of the system in the department or organization. Third, they do this by identifying various approaches or interventions that might be best for improving the overall effectiveness of people, departments, or the organization overall. And fourth, OD practitioners apply various approaches to improve effectiveness or methods of planned change in the department, in the organization, or with various change champions in the organization. And finally, OD practitioners obviously increase effectiveness of people in departments and organizations by evaluating what they're doing now and comparing that to the established standards or goals, both internally as well as externally with the competitors and those in the industry. So OD professionals do a number of different activities to achieve their goals, but obviously it's not a step-by-step process. So based on what they learn, they make adjustments and recommendations accordingly. And there are different levels of human systems. For example, OD practitioners work at the individual level. They work with people on interpersonal relationships, group relationships. They work with people in the whole or entire organization to see how they all work holistically. And finally, there are networks within the organization, both internally connecting one division with the other, and also networks that connect people with customers, vendors, suppliers, government, unions, and other external stakeholders. So OD professionals can be connected to all the various stakeholders that are critical or important to the success of any project or change that is desirable in the organization. The application of OD approaches vary from workforce development to change management to social construction areas. In workforce development, you might talk about leadership, career development, training and coaching, and human resources planning, talent management, performance consultant, task analysis, job design, enrichment. In change management, we may be dealing with large systems change, small systems change, individual change, process improvement. And in social construction, we might be dealing with diversity, appreciative inquiry, action research, new sciences approaches, in inclusive dialogic OD, etc., etc. So there are many areas that the OD consultant is involved with. So he or she has to constantly develop his or her knowledge and skills. So who is the OD professional? The OD professional's effectiveness usually depends on how he or she thinks, how he or she acts, and on his or her conceptual ability and overall skill set. In service or helping roles, the use of self or one's way of thinking and knowledge tends to influence the outcomes. OD has long stressed the importance of use of self, leading to an emphasis on personal growth in development in the service of helping others. Some experts have emphasized the use of self as being the conscious, intentional use of self-knowledge, capabilities, and presence, or who we are, to successfully execute our professional role in service to others or any situation. The use of self is basically being an instrument of sensing, meaning making, and action taking in human system settings in service of others. In other words, you're taking data and you try to understand it and you do something with that. So OD consultants obviously have to put a lot of time in better understanding the self and how the self can be of service to others. Experts have said that when it comes to the path to effective OD practice, there's a blend of use of self or self-awareness and authentic presence, consultative relationship or influence-based equal partners, collaboration and inquiry practices, knowledge in behavioral and organizational sciences like content, literature, processes that are being used, and how to make sense of the data and the information. And finally, execution skills in better communication, better diagnosis, in quickly diagnosing root causes, in terms of designing a program for implementation, for facilitation, managing conflict, managing change, managing project, and also learning quickly. So what role can OD practitioners play in change management? OD practitioners are involved in strategy and implementation. They help the organizations to manage the change process using relevant techniques, tools, models that not only achieves the result, but achieves it in such a way where people are highly engaged, excited, and motivated. And OD practitioners apply human systems. They work with employees to change their attitudes toward the change itself. They provide empathy as well as support. In other words, that coaching and socio-emotional support becomes important when people are dealing with long days and new ways of getting the job done. The OD practitioner is usually an internal or external consultant. And the OD practitioner actually brings in experts from other fields or develops expertise in other fields like total quality management, information technology, information systems management, compensation, benefit management, and so on. And also, there are managers and administrators who apply OD from their line or staff positions. So in this case, they have a specific responsibility and level of authority, but they also become organizational development practitioners in their internal jobs. As we've alluded to this already, competencies that OD practitioners require are interpersonal skills and self-awareness, interpersonal skills with regards to the ability to work with others in groups, consultation skills, in other words, the ability to manage consulting jobs and processes, and organization development theory and knowledge of change management processes. And fifth, they need knowledge about the business, about the industry, and they need research methods, competencies in gathering data, making sense of the data, analyzing the data, and then making recommendations based on evidence and that data that exists at a given time in the organization or in the department. Peter Block talked about essentials of flawless consulting. And Peter Block was saying that as OD consultant, you have to be a partner with your client. Not only because you need knowledge that they have, but you need their cooperation, their collaboration, their support and championing of the changes that will be implemented. You develop commitment for change among everybody who is involved or will be impacted by the change. You try to act authentically to bring about true change that is beneficial to everybody. And ultimately, you have to trust yourself and your experience. So if you're making decisions based on relevant data, knowledge, and experience, then you're going in the right direction. OD consultants have to not only be leaders, but they also have to be transformational leaders in order to bring about the right changes. They have to create a compelling vision for the organization. They have to create an environment for risk-taking in innovation. Research shows that 80% of successful innovative companies have top leaders who actually reinforce the value and importance of innovation in every department, in every job throughout the organization. These transformational leaders are well suited for dialogic inclusion and leading change. So therefore, they need those skills that dialogic inclusive communication provides for everybody to bring about positive changes among teams in organizations. The OD consultant or practitioner needs all the skills that might be needed for program management. Cummings and Worley recommend 5 sets of activities for effective change management in transformational leadership. Motivating change, creating a vision, developing political support, managing the transition, and finally sustaining momentum. In other words, institutionalizing the change process for the long term. Ultimately, all OD practitioners have to be very good change managers. And culture becomes important as part of the change management process. So if you're dealing with organizations that have employees from different cultures working together, we have to figure out the cultural differences, and then as part of the implementation process, we have to deal with resistance accordingly. And this is where the cross-cultural change management textbook might be helpful for those of you who are interested in consulting in diverse work environments. So this textbook on cross-cultural change management has different topics and chapters included within it, including the information about culture and how it relates to change, conflict, and stress, as well as finally how to make change stick, how to make it sustainable for the long term. And we will talk about this in future lectures. In summary, keep in mind that change is part of every organization. It is dynamic and ongoing, and it impacts every one of us. Therefore, change management training should be ongoing and sometimes mandatory activity for all employees that are involved in organizational development or that will be impacted by the change that is being introduced now by the organization or that will be required based on the law. So change management skills are always going to be necessary, and we need to not only have the IQ, but we need to have the EQ for adapting to change on an ongoing basis. As always, remember that organization development and change management is part of life. We need to evaluate, we need to police, and we need to improve our consultancy and communication skills every single day. Plan and manage all changes effectively. Good luck.